Okay, now it is on. So once more, welcome to Coach Café. It's the first Coach Café in 2022, which is great. I am looking forward for this January one, and just shortly wanted to share with you that this is a project of meeting people who are interested in coaching in any way. And I still have an idea of a club where people with the same interest are meeting regularly or even irregularly, and they meet and they chat over the topic and over the ideas, inspiration they have in their minds. And I also try to open the discussion and having a guest with me in the Coach Cafe. So tonight I have Tomas Ruzicka. Welcome, Tomas.
Hello.
And the concept is very simple. We will open together with Tomas. I have few questions for him, and the rest is on you. The rest is on your questions, on your comments, on your inspirations, and basically any topic connected somehow with coaching is allowed. And even if not connected, we are a group of friends interested in the same area, so we can share. And this is all from my start. Just last comment is that I tend to have a Coach Cafe in English every month, first Thursday of the month. So maybe you'll come also in February. Some of you, will see. And meanwhile, I'll be admitting a few more visitors, and we can start. So, Tomas, I of course have an opening questions for you. How are you today?
I'm very well, and thank you for inviting me. And before I say anything, I would like to commend you for the job you do, because I remember like first we met, now we're talking maybe 12 years back, and you are actually spiritual father of coaching, as I remember, like you're bringing all the people to Czech Republic. And before I start, my first experience in presenting in Czech Republic was with you. And that's a great example of coaching in practice, because you've been so kind to put my name down, because there was a coaching in sport by Michal Ondráček and Tomas Ruzicka, written by Michal Ondráček, but you just put my name down. And I supposed to be sort of co-host, cooperate with you. And I get so nervous before we're supposed to come on and speak. My hands are shaking, my voice just didn't work. And I said to you, Michal, I'm really, really sorry, I can't speak. And I said, come on, Tomas, you can do it. Like, it's your sport. We are here, with the tennis coaches. And I said, Michal, I'm really, really sorry, but I can't do anything. And so you said, well, can you at least pass those papers? And my hands been shaking so much, I couldn't even pass the papers. And it was just amazing, like how I managed to learn to communicate. And it's very interesting that, 12 years on, we are here and talk about the coaching. And even though we've been both doing different things, how the journeys and interests are still connected. So thank you, Evan. Thank you again, and comment, what you do, and very selflessly.
Thank you very much. I can't say much about it because it is a long journey for me, and I am always happy if I have somebody with me on the journey. And it's my pleasure to have you and meeting you regularly or irregularly on the way, and sharing what's up and what is going on. So thank you, Tomas. And let's come back to you, because you are my guest tonight and it's about you. So instead of the question, how are you? I maybe ask you, how was with that book? Because it's also a few years ago.
Yes.
What did happen? Yeah. What did happen in your mind to write a book?
I'm in sunny Gibraltar, by the way, and so it's beautiful day, sun is shining, so I'm happy. And my book was written in 2014, and it happened because I just wanted to know what is going to happen with my life, where I'm going. And I was about 53, I think. Hold on. No. I'm sorry. I was 50. And that sort of 50 sort of resonated with me. And I just have to move my job and lots of personal changes. So I sit down and write down for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I just write down things. And then while I've been writing it, things been coming to me. And it was more about who I am, where I'm going, what I'm all about, what is my life, what is the purpose of life. And one of the questions which I really tried to find out was who I am. And I tried to find that answer for who I am in the future, meaning like, come on, Tomas, where are you going? What are you going to do? What is life? It's all about. And I couldn't find an answer. So I went to see my mother, who was in the kitchen, and I said, Mom, I know I'm good emotionally, and I was sort of being able to handle myself, my emotions. Can you tell me who I am? And she sort of, what do you mean? I said, well, what I mean is that what I was like till age of 4, between when I was born and till age of 4, I remember things like school, early school, 5 years old, but really 0 to 4, I remember very little. And the mother said, well, you've been always the same. So now talking to a 50-year-old man, like about 2-3-year-old child. And I said, what do you mean the same? And she said, well, you've been always quite happy, content to play, and do your stuff. And then from time to time, you get up and you have to cuddle me. So I had to stop what I've been doing and just give you cuddle. And it feels like you charged up with the energy. I gave you that laugh and you just walked away, and then you've been content with yourself. And I thought about it and I said, oh my God, I am exactly the same. The same mechanism works for me as an older guy as it works for a little child. There's an energy, and that energy is love. And that sort of love and question and what is love really resonated with me. And I was sort of carried, and I just didn't know what to do with it. So I spoke with a friend of mine who's an artist, and she just listened to me patiently for about an hour and a half, and we have a nice coffee and bread. And she said to me, come in about 2 weeks' time. So I come 2 weeks' time, and she said, I have something for you. And what she did, she's got a piece of work from wood about 1 meter to 1 meter. And this is what's was the first page of the book. And it's got a massive energy. And as you notice, there's a heart in the middle. And basically, I just tried to explain her what she meant. And she said, well, this is basically, the ripples. Ripples are in the shape of the heart. And it goes through, red and it just goes. And the ripples get a little bit, weaker and weaker. And she said to me, well, that's how I feel you. That's my artistic impression of what you do. And when I came home and I look at it, it really had a massive energy on me. And I thought like, okay, well, I'm going to do with this. But when you look at that, the heart, suddenly I realized there are like 10 ripples. And I've been thinking about it, and then I realized, oh my God, like coaching, so coaching, explanation. And I said, like, well, I need to explain that, in a way of sort of coaching way. So I wrote a book. It took me about 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So I met her again in the 3 weeks, and I said, like, there's a manuscript. And she said, what the hell is this? I said, well, that's your inspiration, that's me. And I said, like, what have you done? He said, well, I stopped. There's about 150 pages because I couldn't write anymore. And my Balboa press, the Americans, they asked me to do more. And I said, I can't do more because that's it. I don't want to do anymore. So that there was a manuscript based on this. And the story just move on, because once you put it out, you think, what the hell I wrote? And then, I realized I just wrote a manuscript for my own life. And it's like, I always lived the life the way I wanted to live, and live by do what you love what you do. So I always knew that, that's sort of driven. But this was sort of another level, just to write a manuscript, for that, actually to understand me. So to make a book out of it, it's almost like, well, if I put so much effort into it, I would like to share it. But making manuscript into the book is just another matter, which will probably take a long time to explain. You have somebody like Phil came into it. Then you realize that your English is not good enough. It needs to be polished. So I went to Oxford to see a friend of mine. And also, and that's probably, something I will finish my short answer, is that all those things like a brain waves, the research, the history, like that Egyptian, they have a heart as a sort of center of the soul. There is a magnetic field. There's a communication between heart and brain. All the things is like, wow. So, but this is not what I based my book. It's just like, I wrote it, and then all those sort of things come, started to make more sense. So that's my short answer about that. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm just laughing because it's always, I'm very often making small jokes on you that your answers are sometimes longer than expected, but it's okay. It's you. Yeah. It's originally you. And I think that it's very nice. And I like also the resonance point, because just wanted to share with you that I moved my house outside of the Brno, and now I live in small village. But what's interesting, this village is in small countryside, like a share, and it's called countryside of my heart.
Oh, wow.
Really, as an official.
Really?
Yeah. So so it's funny. I moved to the countryside of my life. But back to the book, because I know you for a couple of years. I also know that you have, and I think this is the reason we are so much connected, because coaching is working inside out, and this is your approach, basically, to tennis coaching and also to the life coaching. But I also think it could be interesting to give us some point of view. What do you mean by this inside out approach? What is your, let's say, application or explanation?
Yeah. Well, this is another thing I needed to explain myself firstly, because I'm talking about inside out approach for maybe 25 years. So this is nothing new. And this is something I always knew. And actually in the book, there is a little bit more explanation. And it's not my idea. It's go all the way to Socrates. Not that I knew him, but I would love to meet him, at least in my dreams. And that was one of the things I would like to experience, just, move it through the times and be taught. But I was taught by a history professor who's been bringing me all this sort of people, Plato and Socrates, into my life. And, I was very much interested in philosophy. And so when I started to teach or coach, that was sort of natural way of looking at things. It's like when you look at talent, the Greek currency, you have a talent, how many talent, and how you use those talents. So how you use your life, being used in life for purpose, which is, above you, which is connected to serve, and serve what? So it's a serve to higher purpose rather than your own purpose. And what is that, what is that higher purpose? Which is coming back to what I praise you for at the beginning, because there's a higher purpose of what you do, being able to connect us even. And I just realized that, the people like yourself, connectors, are very important. I'm not necessarily one of them, but I like to understand what I'm doing. So when it's inside out, what I understand that you cannot bring to the world anything which is not inside. So just to make it easy, so let's say if I'm an architect, what comes first? The building or an idea? So the vision of what? Before I started to put some scripts, before, that building can be erected, but that have to be imagined first. What about the poem? Is it a poem on a paper, or is it like, are the words in a head of the artist, or is it maybe the feeling he just have? And inspiration, what is it? And then the words come on a paper. So what is that state of inspiration? What is it? And this is something you cannot find outside. This is something you have to go, within. And the only place, if you start to look, the only place you find out is your heart. So you find out in many cultures when the people meet, could be salam aleikum, could be, it's always come into your heart. If you want to connect to your heart, you will just put your hand there. So suddenly that's where you are. You can't be anywhere else. The truth you. So if I'm talking about inside our approach, and if I want to develop it, or if I want to tell my audience what is it inside out approach, that basically means that I need to go in, and the place inside is my heart. And when I reach that place inside, I can go out, which is my voice. And basically that's my reason, that's my thinking ability. But it cannot go other way around, which is interesting, because before we switched on the microphone, we talk about things, and it's really special occasion for me, have a chance to talk to people, at least, and be given a platform. So you want to say something and you want to prepare, and it's finished always the same way. It's just stuff it, because if it have to be me, it have to be unprepared. So it have to be from my heart. And I think it's a big thing, like maybe when you listen to presentations, which are written and which are just taught, and you realize that the person actually present you something, but he wants to look good. He wants the presentation look polished, but it's not authentic. And that authenticity, which you could feel or not, must be also felt by the person who speak. So, which means that somehow I need to feel me before you can feel me. And when it's come to coaching, when it's inside out, if I want to have any impact of my student, that students must feel, and again, that's here, that the person who talks to him is authentic, and not to sort of try to find a watch, or that interest is genuine. So wherever you are, wherever you come, you always finish with you, and always finish with the relationship, you and. So like, you know, we're talking about things, but end of the day, if our relationship is not good enough, the energy is not going to flow. And that's how I feel that you linked on a certain wavelength. And then when you do, when you meet, you can move things on. So that will be from inside out, in a short, obviously.
It sounds interesting, and I'm just imagining that as far as I know, you work with young players. It sometimes must be quite difficult because, as I know, because I have 3 sons, as I know, young people, it may sound strange for them, and they even may think that you are kind of a weird person.
Yes, yes, it's extremely difficult, but it's extremely satisfying, because first thing on first level with young people, and we're talking about pubescent, I believe. We're talking about people between maybe 13, 18, is that you need to change. And then what we don't understand, that like we would like to be up there and talking down to them. And this is the first, you know, very common mistake. And it's actually, you know, sometimes what we're missing out as a coaches is that, you know, we reach a certain level of understanding, which we think makes us superior. And yet I really believe that if you really go down to those little kids, I'm not talking puberty, but I'm talking, you know, pre-puberty, when you work on completely different, you know, different brain waves, and when your ability to listen, to bring things into, to understand, to be in the presence is so much enhanced. So in that way, it's a superior. And it's another thing which is a superior to us, because with the alpha waves and stuff, you can be at the present moment so easily. And because, you know, we operate through our heads, we judge, you know, we have so much rubbish going on there. And we actually think we are superior. But in a realm of learning, in a realm of expressing, we are not. So it's actually what we have experience. So if we are able to basically be with them, that doesn't mean that like we belittle ourselves, but when you friend, you don't fake it. The young kids don't fake it. They know if you are fake. And if you are a real friend, it means that, I mean, do you remember like your friends in a teenage years? What a wonderful thing that was. Yeah. I mean, like, and I love to be, you know, I love to be friends, and, you know, you die for them. And, you know, if you happen, you know, and if you understand that if you are a friend, even if you are sort of, you know, old guy with a gray hair, but you are a friend, like sooner or later, you know, that person you deal or you try to help, you know, realize, well, he's a friend. And he start to understand that you are a friend and you are there to help, because friend is there to help. And also friend is there for you when you want him, not when I want him. This is a very important distinction, because sometimes when we coach, we said like, well, now it's a coaching, now I'm going to tell you, so it's my time, and then my time is very precious, and I'm very important, and I'm very knowledgeable, and like look at all my CVs and stuff like that, and I am the man, which is the worst thing what can ever happen. And then ego speaks, and then the teenager switches off. But when you become vulnerable, when you open up and when you become a friend, you can start. So again, it's not sort of painting by numbers, do this, do this, do this, but it's to be who you need to be. Now, if I can give another example, like, let's say, if you are with a woman, you want to be a lover. That's it. And you want to love and you want to be loved. You want to be with that person. If you're not, where are you? And I think life, in a way, it's quite simple. And possibly the easiest way to describe it is when you spend the time with animals. I went to St. Barbara Church, and it was a beautiful day in Kutná Hora, and suddenly I see meowing. And I'm a dog person, I'm not necessarily a cat person. And the cat just jumped at me, and I was admiring St. Jacob Church, passing your favorite chocolate cafe, and there was a cat next to me. And she'd been pouring, and I let her to be with me, and I was just there. And it was just me and the cat for half an hour. And then I get a little bit bored, and I said, well, I just better go. But I really enjoyed the time being with her. And she bite me, and she started to scratch me. It's like, where are you going? She didn't want to let go. And I said, I'm sorry, like I have to go. You do exactly the same. Because the cat is just here. When she's bored with you, she goes. So I just behave like a cat. But it was just a great example of that. I don't talk to Kat, she doesn't talk to me, but we communicated with just plain being.
It's the presence. Yeah,
yes.
To be in a present. Yeah. I was thinking about a few more questions which were coming to my mind, but I am thinking also about our participants, and maybe it's time to ask if anybody has a question or comment. Of course, I can ask a few more questions, but I will make a short break and ask others. Is there any question or comment? If not, I was thinking about those 10 ripples or waves. And as I mentioned it before we started, I have the book somewhere hidden in the box because we were moving. So I was about to remind myself, and I couldn't find it. So maybe for me, if you can just summarize those 10 waves or 10 ripples, and maybe there is a following question: where are you now?
At the moment?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm there. And so I mentioned love. So that was sort of something which really puzzled me. What is love? And, where you find it. And then, I realized there's a more to it. So when you go beyond love, you find a peace. And one of the quotes I have, here, that you will never find a peace of mind until you listen to your heart. And so I get to that peace, and that's basically the middle of it. And while you in a state of peace or peaceful, when you are home, when you are within, then you can connect. And the connection, that's what I call love. And love in the Greek sense had so many different shades, but you can also say where there is love, there is life. So love gives life. And then, so you started to live, through love. And obviously that love expressed itself in joy. And again, it's, here it's like, it's a supreme art of a teacher to awaken joy in a creative expression and knowledge, which is called by Albert Einstein, by the way. But you see like a joy of playing, joy of expressing yourself with whatever you do. So the joy as an energy is a great example of that. You connected to that life force, which comes from within. And do we hear each other?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Great. Yeah, just gonna. So, and then it's come to inspiration. So when you are in that sort of state of energy, you get inspired. Okay, so there was a quote coming from Vincent van Gogh: I dream my painting and I paint my dream. So inspiration is like something which what can be. Things are not, haven't been done, but what is possible. But what is possible, which comes from within, it's not somebody tells you this is a good idea, but it's actually like, this is my idea. That's who I am. That's you are inspired, means you are in spirit, which is your spirit. And then it's become tricky because then it just comes, you need some balls, and which is courage. And it's almost like, suddenly you need to dive into that water if you say, something inspire you. And that's something you need to do. And I have a quote here from Nelson Mandela. This is, I'm reading from the book. I learned that courage was not absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he conquers fear. So it's like courage, something we deal, within ourselves, and something, we have to conquer, and something we have to look at. So basically, in a coaching, I say to my players, look at the mirror. What do you see? And having that courage to look into that mirror. And I think once you have that, then you connect to the trust. And trust yourself, create a kind of self that you will be happy to live with all your life. Okay, so you trust that.
Moment, I just wanted to put it in the chat.
Okay.
Can you just summarize the levels up to now? It was inspiration, courage. What was before?
So we started with peace as a number one, then we follow with love. Then number 3 was a joy. Then number 4 was an inspiration. Follow up by courage. Courage is follow up by trust, which is trust in ourselves. And then that was number 6. Number 7 is willingness. So that willingness that now you trust yourself and you're willing to go on. Like now you know how Coach Café works, and you're willing to move on to 2022, and you're on a path, and you have an energy. So that energy of will, okay, which comes from the trust. And then there is a certain results like we talk about today, which will be acceptance. And acceptance will be like, okay, now if it's just us two, it will be us two. If it will be 100 people, it will be 100 people, but accept what it is, accept your strengths, accept your weaknesses. So number 8 will be acceptance. Okay. And then the next level, now we come into the sort of brain sort of thing, it's understanding. And I have this here, like anger and intolerance are enemies of correct understanding. So understanding is basically, you don't want to sort of, get too emotional, but also to understand that understanding is two-way street. Yeah, so
Mhm.
that's sometimes misunderstood, that it's just the only one way. No, there are like two ways. If it's me, so, and the final point of the inside out journey, is the reason. And
Reason.
the faith must be enforced by reason. When faith becomes blind, it dies. So the reason, so that ability to, your ability to think, your ability to reason.
So we are going inside out. So this is the
path.
Out level, or
Yeah, and basically from the coaching point of view, based on that book, when I brought it down to sort of 10 different levels, it just made me understand, where I'm at the moment, which, could help people. Okay, now let's just stop talking. You need a courage. Or, it could be a level of trust. Or, maybe you start from a wrong premise. So it could be, it helps to navigate a little bit. And, that's also, and then from my point of view, as the book is concerned, it helps me to give that book a structure. Mm-hmm. Because before it was just ad hoc essays. And
yeah, we've got a question, or you've got a question in the chat. Can you see that, or shall I read it?
No, I don't see it.
Okay, I can read it out.
I can read it out if you want, Mikhail.
Okay, great. Thank you, Phil.
The question is that I was fascinated by the fact that early on in the conversation that Thomas was so nervous when having to translate with you. And the question is, obviously, since then he's written the book, but more importantly, how did he handle that situation in order to conquer his fears?
Okay. So the question is, how do I move from being of the stage fright to being able to talk in front of, let's say, 600 people like I did in Bangkok? Now, it's actually came from help, and it's been through translated for Keith Reynolds at coaching conference. And I invited Keith over to Czech Republic, and he's been speaking. And he's the guy I respect tremendously, and he's got his English is very good. He's very articulate, and I did translate for him. So while I translated, all the eyes in the audience been looking at me, and yet the words I've been speaking wasn't mine. I just translated. So suddenly, that voice gave me confidence to use my own voice. So the next time, when I faced an audience, it was me. So that was really sort of transition from somebody who was sort of scared because I was sort of so aware that somebody's going to judge me and what people may think, into sort of somebody who could sort of speak freely. But the person who allowed it, was within me. And I just didn't know it. And, if it wasn't through the translation, I won't know what to do, really. So it's just, actually, it's a life situation I was put in, and suddenly that made me realize what to do.
What I'm saying, that was later with Keith. I'm talking about when you were with Mikhail in this situation. How did you transform yourself from that situation?
I didn't. I was there like frozen rabbit, like for 2 hours. It was a Mikhail, and Mikhail was fantastic. So it was Mikhail all the way. And I was just there like in a corner, just, looking at my name, on the table. Yeah.
It was the beginning of the journey.
Yeah, beginning of the journey.
I didn't know that, Thomas. Sorry. Well done, Mikhail. Sorry.
Oh, but he moved. He wasn't frozen.
Yeah. I popped in the toilet and I was okay after that. Yeah.
It was interesting, but I also it was interesting what you mentioned with the translation, because it came to my mind that it's interesting parallel that if I'm speaking, I'm kind of an interpreter of me inside, which is interesting concept, by the way. Maybe
Yeah.
it would help a lot of people being nervous with the large audience, because interpretation is really, you are just the voice of somebody else. And it only needs good language skills, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's all. And I think it's great, because just today I was also reading a book about translations from other languages, and the person mentioned you have to know the subject to be able to translate it. And I think this is nice, even if we are talking about ourselves, yeah? Because who could know me better than me? So I probably would be a good interpreter for myself. So it's
Yes.
just interesting concept you brought my mind.
Yes.
That's very interesting, because actually Thomas knows this. For me to translate, I didn't realize how difficult it was. I've done some, but Thomas has, and also you, Mikael, have a different level of this. I did some in Spanish, and I found exactly that concept of, it was translating for somebody else, but I didn't know the actual content. So therefore, I was lost. I didn't, because I was asked at the last minute to, I wasn't prepared. I said things, I'm thinking, I had to think on my feet. I wasn't comfortable with the content of the translation, but it was a last minute thing. And I thought, wow, this is difficult. This is something I didn't have that skill necessarily like that. Maybe I need to practice it more, but so that's why I credit both of you actually talking in English. Obviously it's my mother tongue, so it's not a problem. But for you guys, the way in which you're able to converse like this is a real gift, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Phil. We were just joking about that before we started, because we are both from Czech Republic, and we switched to English. And it's funny. But for me, it's great experience, and I enjoy it, because English and also English-speaking countries are for me great inspiration, because of course John Whitmore, Timothy Galway, my teachers, if I may say, are from those countries, and I'm just connected with my heart with them. So it's always pleasure for me, even I know that I'm not the best speaker in English. But we have also the question in the chat, Tomas, and this is definitely for you. What is the fastest serve you ever seen?
God, fastest serve.
Fastest serve.
Serve I ever seen. I saw lots of fast serves. I never measured it, but I guess there was a German guy called Eriksson, who serves really big. Yeah, he was one of my students. Yeah, and I gather it could be his question. So he's been serving quite big, and the serve's been flying all over the place, I guess. And
yeah. Come on.
He was a big
coming, you're joking. Eric
I got it. I think I got it. Where the question comes from. And it's in tennis it's interesting, because it's either not just the speed of the serve, but I would say the best server in tennis was probably Peter Sampras, and I had a privilege to see him on the center court at Wimbledon, and he's been serving, he's been hitting the spots at will, and in the biggest moment of the match. So I would say the best server I saw was Peter Sampras, and the fastest serve, which Eric probably won't remember, was Roscoe Tanner, which is the guy I grew up to admire in sort of 70s. and I managed to sort of see him in Hilton Head Island, and I sort of forced myself to sit next to him in a bus going from the Charlotte airport to Hilton Head for 2 hours. And poor guy, he just couldn't get rid of me. And I've been asking him about his surf and how he does it, and I wanted to know everything about his surf. So I think he just got a nightmare, you know, thinking about that the journey by the bus, because there was nowhere to escape from me. Yeah, so that's about surf.
It just reminded me old joke John Whitmore was sharing, and it was similar, that he was traveling with somebody interested in coaching, and he was explaining, especially he was explaining concentration on critical variables and how it helps relaxation of mind, and how it helps improving the performance. And the person was insisting on precise answers. Okay, concentrating on something, but on what? Yeah, and it was as I got it from John, it was a guy who was coaching swimming, and so they were discussing about swimming, and John was fed up with those questions after 2 hours or more. So he just told him, "Oh, it doesn't matter. Maybe the fucking big toe." Yeah. And later, about a half a year or something, there was an article in newspapers that there is a new revolutionary method of teaching swimming through observing big toe. so I don't know if it's true, but it was a great joke. And there was thanks for the answer about the fastest surf. Okay, any other question or comment from others, either through chat or with voice?
You mentioned something, but I'll leave it after questions, about the title of this presentation you wanted to tackle, which we may, if there is a space.
Yeah, I think we owe it a bit for others, even for others who are not with us. So maybe we can, or you could touch this point. I think it's interesting, winning minds and building the strength of mind. And yeah, and Phil is writing, I think we need a coffee as well. Yes, coffee, or I have a glass of rum.
And have a cup of tea still. So
let's do it. Let's do it.
So the question was about winning minds. So how to develop a winning minds?
I can say it exactly. The title was Inside Out Development Journey, How Winners Develop the Strength of Mind.
Mm-hmm.
So give us a precise, exact recipe how to do it tomorrow for us.
Okay. That's easy. That's easy.
Yes,
so,
I hope
yeah,
so.
Like 2 hours later. Okay, so the point is the winners. You know, what are the winners? But maybe we just leave that word to our imagination.
But I would like it also.
Yeah.
Who is the winner? But I will let you.
I will. Okay. Well, I will maybe like to say that the winner is somebody who can conquer himself. Just in a one sentence. So that's just coming out of the inner game that, you know, before we sort of, you know, get our outward victories, or, you know, the public victories, you know, we need to conquer ourselves. So, you know, the person who can't do that, you know, can never be called winner. And those battles basically happen on a everyday basis, and possibly to deal with those battles, to win those battles, is develop winning habits, which will be another, you know, another presentation. The another word is develop. So develop means that it's not like something you buy, something you can, but develop means that something you reach over a period of time. So that means developing. And, you know, coming back to the heart waves, developing something from within. So to develop something, you need to be passionate about something. And to be passionate about something, that's the coaching comes into it, you know, being able to guide you and understanding, you know, why you're doing what you're doing. The strengths is easy. Develop the strengths. Strengths comes, you know, from the repetition. Very much like the strengths of the muscle comes from using that muscle. That muscle gets stronger by using it. And mine is mine. So, you know, you using it on a daily basis. So that will be translation of that questions. So you develop the strengths of mind by daily, you know, repetition of what is it you want to develop. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still here, curious, and I probably would touch the last word, which is mind, because I think, or from my perspective, it's interesting because many people would tell you that it's difficult to handle their minds because mind seems to be doing itself work. That the mind is running around without your conscious decisions.
Yes and no. It's about focus. Okay, so, and surely if you're passionate about something, if you care about something, if it's come from within, it's not difficult to focus. Now the problem with mind is when it's come from outside, of course it's difficult to focus. So try to fill your tax return. You know, you're not, you know, this is not something, you know, which will inspire you. Yeah, but just do what you love. You know, you don't have to persuade yourself. Yeah. So then it's just what is the difficult part of, let's say, maybe the things you know you need to do in order to be good at something. So, you know, if it's let's say tennis and you need to you know, basically do more flexibility, but you don't like stretching, well, somehow you need to get connection to that stretching, and you need to sort of not necessarily fall in love with, but, you know, start to create some positive resonance, positive attitude towards the stretching. So this is basically coming from reason, understand why you're doing it, and sort of fall in love with that. But nothing will you know, will come unless you connect it with within. So therefore the strength of mind of wanted something comes from, you know, within, through the daily repetition. And with the mind, it's almost easy, because with the mind is, you know, that mind is disturbance. So, you know, what is the problem with the mind is this: there's so much rubbish. Now, where that rubbish comes from? The rubbish comes from outside. Now, when your heart is full, that's it. You don't have other thoughts. But that's the problem. Like, we don't, when I am with the cat, I am with the cat. I don't speak to the cat, I am. And, but we don't, it's almost like think that like a being, just the basic state, it's like something is wrong. That when I am, and imagine like the state of awe, you there looking like complete idiot with your mouth open like that. And it's like, where are you? Oh, I don't know where I am. What have you been thinking? I didn't think anything. So what is it? Now, if I am coaching, and if I cannot reach that state when I'm just observing, when I'm looking without judging, I cannot see what is in front of me. So if I'm well-trained coach, I'm just looking, I'm just sticking the numbers, you know, like, and now I'm looking at that. Now I'm looking at, I'm looking at, I'm looking at. So you basically, you focus your mind into something. But while you're looking at something, you're missing 99 other things. Yeah. So the point is, if you don't look anything, you're looking at everything. And when you look at everything, then you can zoom in. Yeah. And back. So you go from looking at everything into zooming in, and looking at everything and zooming in. But that ability to empty your mind is completely opposite what we are taught, because we are taught to fill our mind. And when we fill in our mind, that's the problem. And that's what we do at school. So it's like an oxymoron, isn't it? And this is exactly what we talked before this session started. When I said to you, well, I just wanted to be so well prepared. I wanted to say something. I wanted to like just pass all my wisdom. And then you actually realize, no, Thomas, it's not your wisdom. It's a quote, and it's like, you know, what other people said, and it's like you try to be smart, but actually you is you like at this moment. And you have no idea what will come out of your mouth, because what is coming out is already there. I cannot say, so that's, and so if I want to be a good coach, and if I have that sort of so-called talent, it has to be me. And I have to use my own eyes. So does Phil, so does you, so does everyone. But we don't teach like that. We said like the coach supposed to be like that. I mean, how I can possibly become a Tim Galway? That's impossible. This is impossible. You know, I cannot be Tim Galway, but I can be inspired by that. And, you know, one of the reasons about this book was sort of that intrigue. And this was my best effort to, you know, break it down. And to be honest, that ability to live, to feel, to be there, that didn't change. And sometimes it's that needs to be better. Sort of, it's almost in the way of simple being. You know, when I mentioned at the start, like, you know, I didn't change too much. So there's a certain things you are born with, and this is going to guide you for rest of your life. So you need to understand who you are, and the rest is just the bullshit. You know, you learn, and you can pick up whatever you need. You know, the knowledge is just impossible to, you know. So especially these days on a mobile phones, when the knowledge is sort of easy. So can somebody explain me why in the modern world we have all this knowledge on a mobile phone, we can't get a state of emptiness? Why it should be easy, not more difficult. But obviously it's difficult because we are not connected, isn't it? We need to, you know, it's just the information goes on and on and on and on. But do we hear what's going on inside? Those will be the hard waves. Do we actually feel ourselves? Now, how we can connect, how we can develop friendships, how we can develop relationships, how we can live our life without that. If you don't have it, then we have to buy cars. We have to buy, you know, status. We have to do things to say, hello, here I am. But, you know, there's an empty shell, you know, when you need it. So it's, you know, obviously I'm preaching to the preacher now here, but not many people don't, you know, not many people realizing that. And because partly that they talk about it, but it's just, it's easy, but it still works. You know, what I'm talking about, this is maybe, you know, 40 years. And maybe like a 40 years of thinking, and I have a little bit sort of chance that I have that sort of time and space when I could learn and think it through. But yeah, so how you develop the strengths of mind is using it, the right way.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
But you have to empty it first.
It was funny when you mentioned all those technological tools we have, and still it's difficult. I think it's more difficult than before because we have so many inputs into the mind that sometimes it's full of rubbish. And there is also a comment from Phil. This is a highly developed skill. What do you see? Your eyes can perceive different things.
Okay, what do you see? So let's say I'm a tennis coach and Phil is a tennis coach. So let's say we are trained as a coaches. So we are trained to technique. And so let's say 10 tennis coaches will look at a play and each of them will see something different based on their training and based on their experience. But I think that when we're talking about energy, so like you see movement. So imagine that, like, you know, you walk on the streets and you see people, how they move. You see the body language. You know, it just gives you an idea of the state where they are. You know, and then let's say somebody says hello to you. And I believe that within that second, you know exactly who that person is. Because he may, you know, his eyes may not meet you, you know, his body language. So this is very much like, almost like stay open. And so to be able to see, it's a general thing. And I think the people making a mistakes go into specific first. And it's much more harder to look at, let's say, when I look at what my wrist is doing on a serve, you know, I should first look at, you know, if there's a balance, if there's a good flow, you know, if it feels good, you know, if the movement feels good, if it accelerates, if it's, and then let's say then you can say something doesn't feel good, something doesn't feel right about the movement. And then the next question, you have to say, well, I have no bloody idea what it is. That's another thing. Not try to want to know too quickly. So not knowing is another difficult part. It's like, so you play around with that idea, what it could be. Because, you know, sometimes when you are too sure of yourself, you know, you may lead in a wrong path. So let's say you come to conclusion too quickly and you follow that path. And that path can lead you somewhere and you don't know how to get there. And, you know, so sometimes it's better to oscillate, you know, around the idea and not knowing. Because the good thing about not knowing, let's say if somebody develops serves, that you don't know, and then you go the next day and you don't know, and then in a month's time you don't know, and in about a year you don't know. But while you don't know about things, you pick up so many little informations that you have a massive library of knowing. So the longer you allow yourself not knowing, the more you know. So it's like, but that will be wisdom versus knowledge. So that basically, you know, then you basically, you know, point things and you say one thing and you get it right. But that's not, I don't call it knowledge, but I will call it wisdom. It's just accumulated knowledge. But accumulated knowledge comes from not knowing, if I make any sense. And that's the problem, like in a school and stuff, isn't it? What do you know? It's like, what do you have, isn't it? What do you have? You know, do you have this car and you have this house, you have this girl, and what do you know? That's what the people ask you. So you're so desperate to show what you know, and you're so desperate to show what you have. What you have.
Sometimes what do you do?
Yeah, and it's exactly opposite what the coach should do, because, you know, as a coach, you're not allowed, you know, by being like that, you can't see. And if somebody asks you to see something, you need to get rid of your judgments and knowledge or whatever. That's difficult. Especially when, like, say, like, oh, so I'm just paying you and you know nothing. Well, that's great, isn't it? So like this guy know nothing, and I'm actually paying him this money. This is great. You know, I have somebody like, I'd rather have this guy who knows everything. And usually what you find out, those people who know everything, they know very well, let's say, you know, 1 or 2% of, but the thing is they don't know. They know something, they know like a 2%, and then there's 98% they don't know, but they don't know. So once you start to know something, then you actually realize how much you don't know. So the next stage of like coach, said, oh, bloody hell, I know nothing. But like the person who knows nothing is like, no, maybe 3 times more than the guy who knows everything. And you go there, you don't know even more. So when there's a job interview or something like that, oh, like, yeah, I think this guy, he knows everything. He's so sure of himself. And this guy just like, he doesn't know anything. I mean, look at him, like, you know, it's just like, you know, it's just looking, you know, for answer. Yeah. So that's the problem. So that's why people stop learning, because, you know, because society rewards us that, you know, you sure you know it. And, you know, you know, bugger all. But, you know, the society said, this is the man.
I think this is a great point about the learning, because I think that we are so get used to learn through the outside information and through the expert point of view, because Phil nicely written typical response, what did I do wrong or right, is maybe the question from the coachee or client or tennis player. You are an expert. Tell me, what did I do wrong or right?
Yeah.
You correct me.
Yeah. So that's the problem. Like if there will be some sort of the right way of do things, isn't it? Rather than do things. Yeah. So what you did, and then when you know what you're doing, then you can choose keep doing it or do something else. But first to actually, and this is the same like a being, isn't it? First you need to understand you. And then you can do something about you, isn't it? So like, you know, and it's the same like with the learning, you know, like first like, oh, what is happening? And possibly the best way to access it, you know, if you don't see yourself, so let's say, you know, there's a video and stuff like that, you know, is through feeling. Because sometimes asking too many questions can be very disruptive, because the asking too many questions can lead you into that the mind, which we want to develop. But if you want to empty your mind, like, you better go with the feelings. So, you know, you don't want to become too intellectual. You know, but that's another story, and I think it will be a very interesting discussion.
Definitely. Next time we open the discussion with the topic something like ways of learning, because I think this is something I personally believe almost the most important point for me, how to help learning ourselves, how to get know ourselves more, and if I am ambitious, how to help others to know themselves more.
Yeah. Well, how you can help others if you can't help yourself?
Just one note. Yeah. So I absolutely agree with all Tomas ideas and all these things. And what is interesting for me, friends of mine, she told me, we know everything, but how do it? How proceed it? Yeah. So it's a big challenge for us. Yeah. But we can discuss about the question if we know everything, because Mikaela, as you said, yeah, how to learn more. And for me, when I'm talking with people, always there is the limit, yeah, because they stop asking the basic question why. Yeah, so they are able asking why till moment they have the answer from their mind. Yeah, so okay. Why? Because, why? Because, blah, blah, blah. And so there is a certain moment when there is no answer. And I think this is the board or the limit. Where are you going deep in your heart and in your soul, in your mind. Yeah, because it's something which is not possible to explain by knowledge. Yeah, and this is the moment when you can answer just only by your experience or by your feelings. And when you start with this is the first point when you go deep in your real individuality, or how we say. Yeah, so this is for me, it's always the interesting point. So I remember that on the coaching course, that there was some kind of the remind that when the client is answering so fast, is not the right answer. And when he started thinking about your question, it's the right moment for progress for him. Yeah, so it's about learning, about looking for the new things, new way, and new experiences. That's my experience right now.
And actually, you talk like that because there was something there may be a picture in a book. There's a picture. There's a space between action and reaction, and there's a space between questions and answers.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. And also when you sort of speak, it somehow needs to resonate with you. And in that space, in that very space, that's where you are. So that's the quality of your answer. That's the quality of your experience is in a space. So you're absolutely correct when you said that if somebody answers too quickly, because there's no space, it's just reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit like with the food, isn't it? You want to digest it, you want to taste it, you want to get experience. So it's the same, like have experience with what is the question, what is my answer. And this could be another actually interesting way to help to slow down speaking, to be able to get into that gap more often. I had a friend of mine, Alfred Strejček, and he invited me to Dobré ráno Česko, good morning Czech. And he said, Tomas, there's about 150,000 people listening. And I was like, oh my God. And he said, like, please speak slowly, because it's in a radio, it's not. So speak slowly, finish the sentence, make a dot, finish the sentence. So the people who listen had a chance to actually absorb what you listen. So, and this is a great, I'm just continue what you said, because I really feel, there's a great skill which we can use as a coaches to be able to talk to ourselves or hear ourselves, but vice versa with our players, so that the people the people we coach, they can actually hear themselves before so it's a very, I like it. It's a very good point you're making here.
Yeah, it's came on my mind another interesting topic. It's meaning of the words. We are talking, for example, about love. Yeah, you are explaining what means love, but in society, in nowadays, there is a lot of meaning. Yeah, depends on what social bubble are you living in. Yeah, so if you are watching love stories, for for you, the love means something different than you are talking with spiritual people. Yeah. And they can talk about love together, but everybody have the different, for everybody is the love have the slightly different meaning. Yeah. So also this is the problem. Without the experience, what that's really mean, this word, it's quite difficult to communicate, yeah, in between the people, because there is really the lot of the meanings for each word what we have right now. Yeah, I saw recently the nice movie. It was called PK or something like this. It was about the guy. It was the Indian movie, and it was about the guy who came from another galaxy, and he tried to understand what there are people talking about. And he thought, this is crazy, yeah? You said one word, but with different accent, with the different strengths, it means a different situation, yeah? And for me, it's quite difficult to understand what you are talking about, yeah? So, but I know that you are talking about the hard waves, yeah? But if people have a lot of experiences and they are really in the heart, it's not necessarily talk with words. Yeah? You are talking, or you are on the same wave, the hair wave. Yeah? But for current society is, let's say, the big challenge to start or learn how to talk this way. Yeah? So
I think there's only one challenge, like, and this is for us. So I think as a coaches that, if you want to help people, we need to help ourselves. And I think if we, as you said, if you change yourself, that's the best change you can make, for world. But it's understand our limitations, which is sort of quite oxymoron, because if you think about, we are a speck of dust in the universe, we are so insignificant, and yet we do understand that we are a speck of dust. So bloody hell, like, how that speck of dust understand is a speck of dust. So we are very insignificant, and yet we are significant. So in a way of grasping that and understand that, even though, like, we call ourselves coaches, we are there to help people. We need to know that actually the only thing, only change anybody can do is the change, he or she does for himself or herself. And so suddenly, like, what is there left for us? It's almost that's, I don't know who, which saint said it, like, but he said, like, be the change you want to see in the world. So be that what you want to see. And then it's become difficult when he said, like, yeah, it's easy said, resonate with your heart. But then again, can you make it a daily practice? When somebody pisses you off, when you are impatient, so can you, I mean, like, how many times, we will have to do it during the day, to put our hands on our heart, or did I act quickly? And so by coming back to that, winning mind, I will feel that, by practice, by actually awareness of all this, what you said, before, we become a little bit better. And that's all we can do. So a little bit more aware of it. And that's maybe while, all discussions, what Michael is facilitating are great at, even if it's one thing, we understand and we're aware of it, of something which just brings to our attention. It's like, oh, great, thank you. That's good. And I mean, every day, if it's just one thing, it could be quote or something, you just what you said about that space. And that's a huge thing. And you can spend your life, and you can never achieve it. But like, there's a space between action and reaction. Wow. Try to play with that. I mean, you know, what a message that is. Unbelievable. And I think that you know, like what you said, and you know, suddenly, like, you don't need too many things if you learn to apply them well. Because that like thing is not just a saying, but this is a very practical thing, which can completely change your life, completely.
I think, yeah, yes. What I think it's that the coach's mission, the basic mission of the coaches is not to help people to move somewhere, yeah, from point A to point B, but help them really understand each piece of the life, the universe, and themselves. Yeah, if you understand exactly you or the world around you, you can make right choice or select right way. Yeah, if you know. But if you are not aware about life around you, it's quite difficult. It's same like, you know, in the sport. Yeah, if you are playing 100% concentrate on the game and try to understand the game in certain moment, the results can be that you are a winner. But if you too much concentrate on your way from beginning of play to end, is not right way. So yeah, that's what I like the coaching. Yeah, to help the people understand the things, really understand what does it mean. Not just talking about this, to really understand.
And then we come into know thyself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was just about to say the best form of learning is self-discovery.
Yes.
So
it came back to all those 10 levels Tomas mentioned in his books, because when you, Bronislav, mentioned understanding of ourselves, I see other levels, like the next one is acceptance, which is, I think, quite challenging even, because, okay, I may understand myself, but do I accept?
But Michal, I think when you really understand yourself, you are able to accept without, there is no problem. There is not necessary to accept anything.
Well, I'm just connecting the journey Tomas was describing, that there is an acceptance, willingness, trust, courage, inspiration, that even I could play this with this understanding of ourselves. It's the only point I wanted to add to that. Maybe I had another one when you were talking about meaning of words and coming back to heart. I think that sometimes it's better to share feelings. I don't know how, but I think that instead of exchanging explanation of terminology or explanation of meaning words, if we exchange feelings, it may work better. And still, I don't know how, but it's just feeling.
The feeling comes first. Feeling comes first. And then the feeling is verbalized. So, and the feeling is state, which is in your body. So, you know, when we're happy and when everything works, it's usually okay. But, you know, when we are in a state of fight and flight, you know, our body is filled with cortisol or the hormones of flight, then the feeling, and we have to redrive it by words, by our mind. So the point is that you are not in that state. You are not where you want to be. So you know, it's like the state is a very fluent thing. It's not like you can log in, I'm just going to hold my heart and I will stay there. No, something, like, and it is interesting things. I spoke today from my friend in Thailand, and he said, I said, like, what did you learn from that book of mine? And he said, like, it's really funny. He said, usually when I'm getting pissed off, it's with small things. He said, I always get pissed off with everything. My phone doesn't charge, and something doesn't work, or coffee machine. But he said, like, when I've been laying in the bed with the life and death, and I have a couple of times of life and death experience, suddenly, like, I was in the breathing, I just sort of, really, worked hard on that state. So in a sense that, like, if we understand perspective, if we are able to bring perspective into our life, which is great, like in any relationship, if you have a relationship with a woman, so certain things could be life and death. Like if you put things in the right place, so what do I care? But what is important, do you love me or do I love you? I can't care less about that map. So that's perspective, and that's what's important, and that's what is going to hold that relationship together. But that placing the mark in the right place, could have an effect on the state of the feeling. And if the feeling goes, the relationship goes. So does the feeling you have within you. So in a way, if you don't want to get into depression, this is not something you can slide for too many days, but like there must be some daily practice. Some people pray, some people meditate, I don't, but there's an awareness and there's a big picture, which is called perspective. So if you can put the event you go through and like the situation you are pissed off, if you can put into perspective, that's the half of the battle. And this is another thing, it's just, let go. That and it's a little bit like with the food, isn't it? Those things that are in front of you, very quickly after you digest them, they will be behind you. But you digest it, and what you don't need, it just goes. But it's
Please don't have it as the last words of tonight.
Well, maybe the last words been like the ability to let go. Because yes. Sooner or later you have to let go, and you have to let go of life as well. So if you understand that, like, your life goes, and it will, then what are those little things that just control our mind? You realize, but it's like, it's really like nothing. And once you discover it, because there's lots of people, like, once you accept your death, you can live. People say, like, you are born twice, when you are born and when you can grasp your death. Once you, and that's maybe what my friend tried to say. It's like, in the moments of dying, it was easy. So, and it's really strange, isn't it? We are so pissed off about, like, little things which are not important, but when it's really matter, we there. So then, what about treating the life as it matters? What about treating ourselves as we matter, even though we know we're not? So, so if we can live with that we do matter, that, like, the people we deal do matter, then it's a maybe, good start and good change we can bring into the world. And if that person in front of you, which is your coachee, if it matters and he knows he matters, but then he treats you like you matter, and then we started to, the things just move to a different level.
Maybe we are talking about respect ourselves, and then of course it can work.
Well, if you know yourself, you should respect yourself, isn't it?
Mm.
But it's a scary thing, isn't it? To know thyself is a scary thing, because we are so afraid. So, oh my God, like I feel like I'm just, you know, like a dishing the dirt on somebody. Now you're dishing the dirt on yourself, isn't it? I say, oh my God, like, you know, it's just like, I don't want to go there. Like, what the hell? I'm going to find out. But the point is that that's what I'm saying. The thing you're going to find out is a piece of, you're going to find your heart. So, you know, don't be afraid to go deep, because when you really shovel the shit, you arrive home, the only real home, which is your heart. That's where you live, seat of your soul. And then you can expand, you know, whichever you want. And
This could be the last sentence of tonight.
beautiful.
Oh, really, thank you, Tomas, because I'm also watching the time.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that some last idea or sentence would be great, and you made it. We didn't say it before. We didn't plan it, but it was excellent. So thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
thanks to everybody for coming. And hopefully I'll see some of you next month, February 1st Thursday of the month.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Bye-bye.
evening. Bye.
Thank you, Tomas and others. Goodbye.
Bye.